Welcome, Latin students. You should now be able to see a vocab and translation quiz that attempts to replicate the kind of quizzes that we used to have in class, and now we have to do it online because of the plague. Oh no, let's begin in prayer. Pater noster, qui es in caelis, sanctificater nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in caelo et in terra, panem nostrem quotidianem da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. All right, we are on to our second passage here in Ecclesiastes. So let me go ahead and begin to read to you some of these sentences in Latin. We are starting in line 71. Orator sol et occidit, et ad locum suum revertiter, ubique renascens. Okay? We want to look at that sentence there. The subject, of course, is the sun. And what is the sun doing? Look at that verb. Remember, we get the idea of the orient or the east from the direction that the sun rises. Okay? And then what does it do? Right? We get the word the occident, or sometimes people say occidental if they're very academic, for the place where the sun sets. But there's a kind of poetry here as well, because occido can also mean to fall down or to perish as well. Okay? So the idea is that at the end of the day, the sun, in a certain sense, dies behind the horizon. Okay? And then what does it do the next day? The sun comes around and returns to the place where it began. So this is a meditation of the author of Ecclesiastes on the cyclical nature of existence in our cosmos. And he ties this cyclical nature of our existence to the idea that we looked at last week of the vanity, the emptiness of it all. In Latin, the verb vanio means to empty out or to evacuate something. Okay, so vanitas is not just pointlessness. Vanity, it means pointlessness in English, but it really has that rich sense of emptiness. It's hollow. Okay, because if it's all just going around in a circle, the idea is, what's the point of all that? Where are we going? Is there any destination? Is there any final product? All right. Gurat per meridiem, et flectiter ad aqualonem. All right. So we have this idea of cycling again, circling again. Now, here we add the other cardinal points, okay? Because if you're in the northern hemisphere, where is the sun in the middle of the day? Meridies, okay? The sun is going to be in the southern direction. That's why you usually want to plant your garden on the southern side of your house. Or if you want to have a nice sunroom with big windows, it's nice to put that on the southern side of your house, because that's the side that's going to catch the most light in the middle of the day as the sun goes around from east to west. Okay, so meridies means both the middle of the day and also the southern direction. And then, of course, aqualonem means the north. Lustrans universa, circuitu pergit spiritus, et in circulos suos regreditur. Okay, so in this sentence, we switch from the sun to the wind, the wind also, in a certain sense, it blows in one direction and it blows in another direction. But of course, when air moves from one point to another, what's left behind it, right? Just more air. So other air has to come and fill that void where the first air left. And that means that wind itself is also this perpetually cycling phenomenon in nature. Spiritus, however, means both wind, like natural wind out there blowing the clouds along, but it also means my breath. And you can also think of the breath inside you having that kind of natural cycle in and out. And again, the author wants to connect that to the idea of pointlessness. What's the point of these processes if it never comes to completion? If I am always having to take another breath, why can't I just breathe once and be done with it and get what I need and be satisfied? No, instead, as soon as I've taken one breath, I also have to take more. And then, of course, there's a third meaning to the Latin word spiritus, which is, of course, spirit in the spiritual sense. Omnia flumina intrat in mare, et mare non redundat. Okay, flumina, of course, is rivers. And again, we have rivers are like the wind. They exhibit this nature of continuous, ceaseless flowing and never reaching a sense of fulfillment. A river is never done doing what it's going to do. Instead, what does it do? It flows into the sea, but the sea is never satisfied. You can think of the sea as devouring those rivers forever, and yet the sea is never full. Ad locum unde exeunt flumina, revertiter, ut iterum fluant. So if we go back to the spring, the source of the river, and we ask, where's all that water coming from? We know now, of course, that there's this cycle of evaporation from the ocean and then precipitation. But even the ancients knew this water has to be involved in some kind of perpetual cycle, because otherwise, where is the water coming from? In the mountain spring. And so again, water, like the wind, is involved in this continuous, pointless cycle, or at least it's pointless from the perspective of this chapter. Cunctae res difficiles, non potest eas homo explicare sermo. And here we reach the real point, which is we begin to focus on man, homo, the human nature. And we find that although man is capable of seeing these phenomena in the natural world, he's not capable of explaining them, especially explaining them in speech, in conversation, sermo. There may be some way that we can grasp a deeper point to these cycles with our mind, but just try explaining it. Just try outlining what's going on here, and we find ourselves at a deep loss for words. We will continue to examine that next week when we turn to the pointlessness of human existence and human labor, which we already saw alluded to in last week's reading. Okay, hopefully that brief paraphrase of those sentences and pointing you to some of the key Latin words will help you understand and put together your own translations. If you're struggling to put together your own translations, I highly encourage you to work with other people from class. And even if you don't struggle with translating and you just want to do it with somebody else, I highly encourage you to work together with other people from class. I think all of this Latin work is done much, much better if you are interacting with other students and going over the vocab with each other, quizzing each other on that vocab, quizzing each other on how to translate it, and it'll be a lot more fun, too. All right, I will see you guys next week. We'll get another video. Again, feel free to message me or email me if you get stuck on any sentence, any word, if you have any confusion at all in these passages.